All right, it's fall time, y'all, and I had to have one of these wreaths, and I wanted to make one and show you how I made it. And the first thing you want to do is get some corn husk that you would make tamales with. And you can find those in your grocery store usually, in the produce or the baking aisle. At my grocery store, they had a few different brands. It really doesn't matter. They are preserved and they have sort of a smell to them. My husband said they smell like vinegar. I was a little concerned that they would smell like that after, but they did not. They don't, the wreath doesn't smell vinegary or anything like that. And to start out, I just took a needle and threaded a bunch together. And the reason I did this is because I wanted to dry it outside in the sun for a little bit and then add coffee 2 times. So we're going to be coffee staining it. And I took a huge thing, I don't know, probably like a cup of coffee grounds, and I just boiled them in the kettle. I put a strainer, but the grounds had settled to the bottom. I didn't even need that part. And I let it cool a little bit so it's not so scalding hot that it's like too hard to work with. But it's nice to have the coffee hot because usually when you're dyeing something, heat sets in the color better. I felt like just the coffee on its own, even though I put a ton of grounds in there, just wasn't quite dark enough, and I wanted to try adding a little bit of instant coffee. If you haven't tried doing grungy prim stuff with this instant coffee, I highly recommend it. Coffee dyeing, fabrics, or anything is like a ton of fun. So I did just use the coffees, but I think I'm going to go back and just spray on some coffee grunge or some vanilla extract, like mist it on just for the added smell. Because I feel like this is a good way. It's almost like a bowl filler hanging on the wall. I thought that I had a little small wire wreath form, but I did not. So I ended up just making one out of baling wire. And you could do this a wire wreath form, whatever size you want. I feel like the bigger the wreath form, the more spread out and larger your corn husk wreath will be. So what I did was I soaked them in the coffee a second time. You can see I just keep a little bucket here. Because once you put them out in the line to dry, or even if you just let them dry out overnight, because I did this over like a couple days, just here and there tying on the wreath, because it is a lot of tying. If you get busy, you can walk away from it and let it dry. But the husks are very brittle if you try to tie them on as they are. Because I thought, well, maybe I could tie them all on and then soak the whole wreath in coffee and just put it outside. But they're much more pliable when they're a little bit damp. And when you first take them out of the package, even, they have a little bit of dampness. But usually when you make tamales, you soak them anyway. So I just tied on as many as I could. Also, I have longer nails, but I used a pair of like I couldn't think of what I'm saying, long handled tweezers to help pull the corn husk through the smaller holes and stuff. And then after I tied it all on and fit as many as I could in the couple of layers, I went ahead and tied on some raffia in some sections. I feel like it could use like way more raffia, but I also dyed it in like a cup of coffee as well and put it out in the sun to dry for a few minutes. That's fine to tie on dry. It doesn't need to be that pliable. It already is pliable, the raffia. And after you get it all tied on, especially while it's still your corn husk are a little bit damp, you can totally like shape the wreath the best you can with your hands, like pulling them and tying them to get it really round and even, because they kind of tend to go in all different directions. Also, when you're tying them on, you don't want the pieces so skinny that like you're tying 3,000 of them on. So I tie them on and then pull them apart a little bit to fan it out and make it a little more feathery looking. Well, thank you so much for watching.